Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 7th episode of The Clinch. Returning today on the show, we have Dave Chicken Parm back on the show, and Keith Robert, as always, myself, Justin Beck. I want to thank Jay Martin for being on the show last week. I feel like we had a very good show last week. A little pressed for time, I know he was, but he made it work. We appreciate that, Jay. All right, we're going to hop right into the speed bag rounds. The first fight on that card was Alejandro Perez versus Albert Morales, and it ended in a draw. Any insight on that fight, guys?
One thing I would like to say is that how did that ref ever get a license to officiate a fight like that? I mean, terrible. I mean, the fight started out great. The first round, they both came out swinging. They were against the fence, and they just, looking for that KO. Other than that, I thought the fight was a pretty good fight to actually start the card, to open up the curtain with. And I thought Morales, his one game plan was just keep kicking the leg, so it eventually gives out or he kind of switches, his stance. So I thought Morales won the first round. And then after the second round, I thought Perez did enough damage. But then once he lost that point, with the referee being completely stupid, telling people to stop, and they don't really even speak English that well, what are they going to do? And then I thought Perez won the second and third round, but it went to draw because the stupid point for the referee just, basically cost him the victory, I think.
Yeah, I want to thank Dave for coming on the show. He kind of came in last minute. We had someone who was supposed to come on. Unfortunately, something happened. They had to cancel. So we went to good old reliable David Chicken Parm. Came in and always bringing it. Yeah, I'm being on a professional, getting eaten again. I figured if someone's name is Chicken Parm, then I can eat while we do the show.
Feel free.
Yeah, I scored the fight. I scored a 29-27 for Morales after the. There's Dave. You see, I can see Dave now.
Oh, hey.
Oh, our ratings just instantly went up.
No. They went down. Who are you kidding?
The women viewers are skyrocketing right now.
You mean women viewers? Just one.
They're all calling their friends, can say they can see you in your WF hat.
I don't even know what happened. It just literally just clicked on for some reason.
So what was I saying? So yeah, I scored a 29-27 for Morales. I gave him the first two rounds. I gave Perez the last round. When you deduct a point deduction, I scored it. I gave it 29-27. I agree with Dave. I'm probably gonna spend more time on this fight than any other fight on the speed bag rounds. This referee was horrendous. My first issue was that he takes a point away from Perez for striking after the bell, when Morales was the one who struck after the bell in the first and the second round, and Perez just simply responded back and threw a punch back after he got struck after the round. So either you warn both or you deduct points from both. Then to take away a point that happened at the end of the second round, let the whole minute in between rounds happen, then to take a point to the third. So now, not only, in my opinion, he was down 2 rounds. It might have been 1-1 at that point. But either way, now you're down in the scorecards, and that whole minute you would have had to come up with a game plan for the last round to make up for that point. You didn't get because you didn't deduct the point at that time. And then Morales throws an illegal knee to a down opponent that doesn't get deducted. The way I look at it, Morales was the guy who had the late falls in the round, who, a guy's a fighter. He gets hit after round. Of course he's going to respond back. But then you get an illegal knee. He doesn't get adjusted. And then it comes down to a draw because of the point deductions. This referee, now, like I said, I scored a 2 rounds to 1 for Morales. So, it is what it is. But the fact that this referee, if you go by the scorecards, took the fight away from Perez because he responded to a punch, I think that's awful. And the reason why Dave said how he got his license, this was in Texas. It's not a big area of MMA. It's not a big area where they go a lot to. But these commissions, other than probably Vegas and maybe in New Jersey with Atlantic City, in California, those 3 major cities, a lot of these athletic commissions give out judging and referees credentials without any accomplishment. They simply just know someone in the athletic commission or their friends. I used to judge. Let me tell you how corrupt MMA is. I used to judge for an organization called Ice Fighter, a same organization that I fought in once, same organization that I trained out of with teammates and judged their fights. I had the promoter tell me before a fight that if this fight is close, give it to our guy, the guy who fought out of my team. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm going to score for the guy I thought who won. Luckily, there was never really a controversial fight that I scored. There was a main event of a fight that was really close, but neither one of our guys were in it. But the referee. So first of all, I had no credential. I mean, I had no reason to be judging a fight. But worse was the referee. The referee of this fight didn't even. I don't think he's ever seen an MMA fight before. He was like an old karate instructor or something like that, and I don't know if this guy knew how to tie his shoes, and he was sitting there, being the guy who jumps in on stoppages and stuff. And I have since then, like I said, I've applied to Rhode Island. I've applied to Connecticut to become a judge. I got denied, but they'll license some guy who knows nothing about MMA, never trained in anything MMA. Wouldn't know a Kimura from a figure 4 leg lock. And that's a major issue. John McCarthy, like I said, I'm spending way more time on this fight than we probably should, but John McCarthy and Herb Dean, the guys who are names in MMA refereeing, have their own seminars where they license guys. Not licensed guy, but you graduate from this seminar to show you that you've done training, and it's like 40 hours. It's like a 40-hour class. So they go all over the country doing it. So if I'm a commission, I would have to have at least that as a requirement to apply to a job. But you don't. It's all about who you know, and that's a major issue. And even in Vegas, in California, and New Jersey stuff, most of these judges are boxing judges. And most of these referees are guys who come from a boxing background. Boxing rules and MMA are completely different. And this guy was clueless. It was one of the worst refereeing jobs I've ever seen. That was feedback.
Well, we'll take away from the referee and judge rant, and we'll move into the main event on the prelims, Fight Pass prelims.
Well, I've been trying to get a hot take so I can be put on a little edited thing to put on Facebook. Jay Martin got the big hot take last week.
You had a hot take. It was a very quotable line. All right. The main event on the Fight Pass prelims was big prospect Randy Brown winning by submission in the third round over Eric Montano. Or sorry. Yeah, third round. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll take this one first. Randy Brown is aggravating. He's really aggravating. Like I said, he's a big prospect. He's came from that Dana White show, looking for a fight or looking for a fighter, or whatever you call it. Looking for Sage Northcutt, whatever he calls it. So he was one of these guys, came in prospect. He's a guy who's been compared to John Jones, which I've learned that pretty much anybody who's black and has long limbs and fights would be compared to John Jones, which would be like saying any basketball player who's 6'5" and bald should be compared to Michael Jordan. And John Jones, he's not close. He doesn't have the wrestling acumen. He doesn't use his range like John Jones. The thing about this guy is he has this long range, but he gets in the clinch, which is where he is the worst at. He's not a good wrestler. He needs to drastically improve his wrestling if he's ever going to be a contender. He fought Michael Graves and lost, and I thought he was more competitive than Michael Graves in this fight. Now, obviously, he got the guillotine choke and won. I had him down 2-0 heading into the third. You can see how some people might have scored the first round for Brown. Either way, he was in a close fight against Montano, who's not a prospect. He's just not even a gatekeeper. And the reason why I don't say gatekeeper is a lot of people have different definitions of gatekeeper. Some people look at gatekeeper as a guy who guards the gate for the title. If you can beat him, you're a title contender. And then there's another people who view it as a guy who's a gatekeeper to get into the organization. He would be a gatekeeper to get in the organization. Randy Brown, unless he drastically improves his wrestling, he will not title contention.
Yeah, I agree with Keith. That first round, he was just trying with that clinch. I mean, I know he tried to do a high knee on the, he's trying to get hit him with a high knee when he was on his back, but they just spent the whole round clinching, and then the second round he definitely lost because he was just getting ground and pound, and he couldn't even get back up for as Keith was saying, a decent wrestler. So obviously he knew he was down 1-1, because I'm assuming he thought he won that first round, but that first round was, and any judge could have scored it any different way, but so he probably thought he won, so he knew it was 1-1 going into the third, and then he came out with the balls of steam and just came out and just got that choke in. And then he goes out and he starts calling the Northcutt killer, thinking he can fight that guy, but you're fighting on the fight pass. You're 2 fights from even being in this organization. So it's crazy to understand that this guy's calling out people when he should just be happy he's even in the UFC to begin with, really.
I forgot about that. Why would Brian Barberino take that fight? That's a step down for him.
Oh, definitely.
He's already beat better than Randy Brown. That's doesn't help him. And I think it's a horrible matchup for him. Brian Barberino, he's not a great wrestler, but he's serviceable. If you're a serviceable wrestler, you could beat Randy Brown.
All right, and then we hop into the Fox Sports 1 prelims, and the first fight on there was Jose Quinonez versus Joey Gomez.
Me and Keith actually saw Gomez fight. He was on that the Boston card with Dillashaw and Cruz, and it didn't go that way for him either. And when your nickname is the KO King, I'm assuming you're a one-trick pony, and that's all you're going to try to do. And he did not look good in this fight whatsoever. And unfortunately, it showed in the judges. He lost the unanimous decision. But I didn't have fun watching this fight one bit. I don't know if Keith did, but it wasn't a good way to start the Fox prelim cards.
Yeah, to me, this was I was rooting for Joey Gomez because he's a local fighter. He came out of CES, which is a local New England fight organization, by far the top fight organization in New England. Guys like John Howard and Dan Lozon, Rob Font, a bunch of guys like that is coming out of that. What?
Batista fought in there.
Yeah.
How could you forget about him? He's great.
Yeah. So, anyways, he was this prospect, but to me, this was a guy, Quinonez, who was ready for the UFC, and Gomez, who had a bunch of first-round knockouts, who hadn't ready. The difference between the fight was Quinonez was on his balls of feet, moving around, changing angles, changing range, while Gomez was basically sitting on every single punch and throwing power. And it reminded me of a guy I used to train with, Jeff Anderson. Jeff was a pretty good fighter. He started knocking guys out. He was always a fast, good athlete, high combination guy. Then all of a sudden he developed a right hand and power. And then he just kept looking for it over and over and over. And he started losing to guys that he shouldn't have lost to because he was always looking for the same punch. And that's what happened in Gomez. He just kept looking for the right hand. Oh, and it became so predictable. And Quinonez just kept changing angles on him. And that's the difference between the guy who's ready for the UFC and the guy who's not.
All right, then we move into the Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Leonardo, Augusto, and Leleco, I want to say his last name is. Guys with too many names fought, and the winner by submission was Carlos Jr.
This was a showcase fight for Carlos Jr. Jr. is a former Ultimate Fighter winner. He's fighting at middleweight now. He actually won the Ultimate Fighter at heavyweight. He's a pretty decent prospect. He's a really good athlete, and he's extremely, extremely strong. He has good takedowns from inside the clinch, and his ground game is legit. I know he's well decorated. Has won many jiu-jitsu tournaments. The key to his ground game is that he doesn't rush for submissions. He's so good on top control. As you saw in this fight, he basically, the second and third round, he got that top control, and he suffocated the guy. We never had a chance to get enough. One thing about his game that he does is he's patient with the submission, where he of what Damian Maia does. Now, take that in context. He's not Damian Maia level of jiu-jitsu. Nobody is ever in MMA. In my not so humble opinion. So there's definitely areas. His striking needs to develop, but he hits hard. And if you hit hard and you have a top ground game, you can be successful. I mean, we've seen guys like Damian Maia do that. Guys like Talis Leites who are a little more one-dimensional. And I think Carlos Jr. could fall into that form. I actually I like Carlos Jr. I think he's going to be all right.
He's got a really sweet nickname in Shoeface. I like that. Other than that, there was one point I want to get your opinion where it was with that illegal knee in round 1 where it was simultaneously where his hands was coming off and the knee was coming up. Do you think they should have deducted the point, or do you think that they should have just kind of let it go because it was so close within, milliseconds of his hand coming up and that knee? And unfortunately, he did lose a point, so then you're thinking he's already down in the round. And other than that, it looked like, Leonardo didn't even want to be there. I thought he was gassed after the first round. He kind of just was breathing heavy. And like Keith was saying, he just kind of just smothers him, and he just takes his time. He picks his spots perfectly where he wants to go. And, he got the victory, which is good. But I want to know what Keith's opinion, if he maybe have left that illegal knee.
To be honest, I don't really remember. So whatever you say, I vaguely remember it. I didn't take a note of it. I don't remember, to be honest.
Just like that fight, not memorable.
Yeah, something's wrong with my phone right now. I'm trying to fix it. My phone's not charging. My phone's about to die. It's weird.
A lot of technical difficulties today, but we're getting through it.
All right, well, before he dies, we'll hop into the next fight, I guess. Bilal Muhammad winning by knockout in the 3rd round over Augusto Montano. His brother fought earlier in the card and lost, and he had the same fate coming to him.
I guess we probably should remember the name Muhammad, which is his nickname in the UFC. He was a big underdog coming into this fight. I don't know what the line was. I think he was like -500 to Augusto being +350, and he basically picked him apart the whole fight.
No, you got that back. You got that backwards. Minus means you're the favorite.
Oh yeah, so sorry, but
So he was a big favorite.
He was a big underdog going into this fight, and I thought he looked great on his feet. He looked great on the ground, and he caught him and he won by TKO in round 3. I actually really enjoyed watching this fight over the last fight because they were throwing back and forth. Each guy looked like they had their moments where they could finish the fight. So I'm happy that Bilal Muhammad got the win. So let's not forget the name anymore, and we'll see where he goes.
Yeah, what's his name again?
Remember the name, Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad.
Yeah. No. It was a horrible joke. Muhammad is he's got the best nickname in MMA, or at least one of them.
Yeah.
I definitely love the nickname. The thing about Muhammad is he was a pretty big prospect. His last fight he fought Alan Jouban in an absolute war where Jouban ended up winning. I don't know if you guys remember that fight. It was excellent. It was definitely fight of the night. Muhammad took that fight on short notice against a very good fighter in Alan Jouban. Muhammad has come in with a lot of hype, and while I agree with Dave that he was winning the fight before he took him down and TK'd on him, I thought the 2 first rounds were competitive. And Montano is he's not a prospect. He's just like his brother. He's a gatekeeper. I thought this should have been a showcase fight for Muhammad. I actually thought he should have been able to knock him out. I thought that he had a hard time. And like I said, to me, the first 2 rounds were close. I thought he was having a hard time with Montano's size. Montano is huge for the weight class. And Muhammad, he's usually plays the bully. He's the aggressive striker. He seems very small. I think he should go down a weight class if it's possible. But his striking is legit, and I thought he was being a little tentative in the first round. It was nice to see him pick up in the 3rd round and finish him. I actually still thought he actually looked better in a loss to Alan Jouban than he did in a win to Montano. But yeah, I think I think Mohammed is a guy that you got to remember his name when the rankings time come. I think he or DraftKings, when you come around to DraftKings, grab Mohammed.
Yep, I did.
Oh, let me go back to that. Talking about DraftKings, I got screwed out of money because of that stupid referee, because he took a point away, and if he doesn't take a point away, then Perez gets the win, and I win money in DraftKings.
Just write him a letter, Keith.
What the hell? Well, you know what? I can't complain too much. I won last night in a league, a fantasy football league, by 0.01 point. No, sorry, 0.04, because Jeremy Langford fumbled. After I was losing, I was all done. He fumbled, and I won by 0.04, which is 1 passing yard. So I can't complain too much.
Yeah, Langford actually got me a lot closer in a league too. If he didn't score that touchdown, I'd have won. But the fumble made it look a lot closer on the scoreboard. Anyway, MMA. Thanks, Keith. Last fight on the Fox Sports 1 prelims was Gabriel Benitez winning over Sam Sicilia by submission in the second round. What did you guys notice in this fight? Anything in particular?
Yeah, this was a really fun fight. It was back and forth. It basically came down to speed versus power. It was Benitez's speed versus Cecilia's power, and but Sicilia, he loves to throw bombs. That's all he does is wind up on everything he throws, throw punches. Now Cecilia is fun to watch. He's always coming forward. He's never backing down. He's always throwing, like I said, he's always throwing bombs. But he's a gatekeeper. He's a UFC gatekeeper. But he's a guy that will have he has job security, because he's got to be fun. He's entertaining. There's going to be times he's going to land in one of those big haymakers and knock out, and the other times, because he leads with his chin, he's going to get knocked out. In this case, that would happen to him. It was really set up beautifully by Benitez kicks. He really was using the kicks well. He used kicks to the body, which set up shots, and then eventually getting the submission. Yeah, it was fun fight. I mean, neither guy has anything to look out for, but it was a great matchup. So kudos to that.
I think people should rewatch this episode, and every time Keith says the word gatekeeper, you have to take a shot, because so far you're I think you're up to about 5 here. And this was everything that Keith said was perfect, because Sam's always looking for that one big overhand right. And, he did get rocked. And then I liked how Benitez was delivering some nice side elbows right to the head, which I don't think he really recovered from. And then once he went in for that takedown, I just think he just wanted to get out of there, because, that was the worst takedown I've ever seen. Right into the guillotine, put to sleep, didn't even tap. Benitez had to tell the referee, he's out, he's out. So, they'll probably give Sam one more fight, just because, he goes out there with heart, and he really tries to deliver a good show. He doesn't like to take it to the ground. He just likes to stand there and bang. And I actually really enjoyed watching this fight. This was a good lead into the main card, because then you don't want to see what happens next. And the next fight, I don't want to spoil it, but this was a good fight to lead in to everything. Start the main card.
The worst takedown you ever seen. That was worse than Dada 5000 taking down Kimbo Slice.
It was close.
Yeah, Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice. Oh, hold on. Let me take my hat off.
Kimbo Slice.
Okay, good.
I did that joke, but I forgot that my camera's not working anymore. So I had to lower my camera. I did the same exact joke as you did.
We got to see your face on this. You're missing it.
The mug. All right, we'll go ahead and move on into the main card now. First fight on the card, Chaz Skelly winning in the first round by submission over Maximo Blanco.
Okay. The fight lasted 19 seconds. Set the timer. We'll analyze it in less than 90 seconds.
Go.
Okay. It was beautiful anaconda choke after a push kick. Nice job.
Yep. He said he wanted to do a drop kick. Kicked him once. Good job.
10 seconds. Way to go. Way to go, fellas.
Well, I liked how Skelly.
Start the clock again.
Oh, sorry. I liked how Skelly admitted his last fight with Elkins. He didn't really bring it, and I'm glad that he actually called for the rematch. I think that'll be a good rematch between those two. Skelly and Elkins. So we'll see if UFC actually does make it, but I would like to see it.
Well, I mean, if you're Elkins, do you really want to take that fight? I mean, Chaz Kelly, I mean, he beat Maximum Blanco. Blanco is a guy who keeps the gate. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
All right, we'll move on into the next fight. It was Islam Makhachev. No, Makhachev. I practiced that and I messed up. Versus Chris Wade. Makhachev winning by decision.
Wade is another guy that me and Keith saw in UFC Boston. He looked. He didn't look too good here. His ground game was really lacking. And when you got a guy that hasn't fought in a year, and you're a good fighter. Everyone is a hot prospect. Everyone's all up on this guy, Wade, and you lose pretty decisively. I thought. He had no answer for Islam's ground game whatsoever. He just seemed like he was lost when he was down there, and this is a big setback for Wade, who I thought they were trying to. He could have been something, but now he's that's 2 in a row because his last fight against Rustem Kabalov, which was I don't even know why they put him in there against him so early, to be honest with you. And he looked like trash in that fight too. So 2 in a row that he's lost. So I think he may be on his way out of the UFC, Chris Wade, pretty soon here.
See, I think this might be the first time me and Dave has ever done this. I'm going to disagree with Dave. I don't think he looked bad at all. I just think he went against a better fighter. Chris Wade is a good prospect. He's a great wrestler. Islam Makhachev is also a great wrestler. The difference in this fight is, and there was some good exchange. I mean, if you don't like the ground game, then you would have thought this round was boring. But if you like ground game, this was a great fight. There was back forth, there was sweeps, there was top level wrestling. The only difference is Chris Wade is a legit American level wrestler, while Makhachev is a legit Russian wrestler. And Russian wrestling is on a different level than American. Now, of course, you got your Jordan Burroughs, your Kyle Snyders, a couple guys that can. I mean, Ben Askren is a guy who can hang on that level. But for the most part, top wrestlers, American. I mean, when you look at the Olympics, you'll see Russia, Middle Eastern countries, Turkey, countries like that. Usually the top teams in wrestling. But Makhachev, there's a lot to like in that, and there's a lot to like in Chris Wade. I mean, he lost to Khabilov, another top Russian wrestler. I don't know what the UFC has against Chris Wade to keep putting him against these legit Russian guys that I think could be top 15. I think Makhachev right now, he's a one-dimensional fighter. He's got a pretty decent overhand right. But if you stick him in against top 25 guys, I think he would beat a lot of them just purely on his wrestling. And I know that, guys argue that basically he's one-dimensional. You go stop one-dimensional. Well, guess what? Khabib Nurmagomedov is one-dimensional, and no one stopped him yet. And Khabib Nurmagomedov, you know what he's going to do. He's gonna jab and throw big hooks from the outside just to get you distracted, get you to raise your hands up. Then he's going to shoot that power double that no one can stop. And Makhachev is that same mold. He had great takedowns. He showed it against Chris Wade, the top wrestler. And if he develops a little bit more, this is a guy that'll be hitting our rankings soon.
All right, and then we'll move on into Roland Carneiro versus Kenny Robertson. Carneiro took the win by decision. All 3 judges scored it differently. How did you guys score it?
I scored it that I fell asleep.
Oh.
It's literally, Keith. I went with over to Doug's house, and literally Doug actually fell asleep while this fight was going on. That's how bad it was. I saw him. He was snoring. He was snoring out loud while this fight was going on. They always kept mentioning that, his second ever fight, Carneiro was, he lost to Anderson Silva and blah, this is his second stint, blah, blah, blah. I thought Robertson won the first round. I thought he was the aggressor, and then I don't know if he just gassed himself out, but once he got to the ground, he had a couple nice reversals, and each of them had decent, decent kind of ground game where they weren't getting in too much trouble. But it just, I don't know about you, but it just kind of just put me to sleep.
All right. If you fell asleep during this fight, then you're not an MMA fan, because this was exciting stuff. I mean, how can you not like Kenny Robertson fight? I mean, he moves forward. He has his hands like he looks like he's doing the chicken dance. He's got this weird like hook thing going on, and he punches you with like the back of his hand.
Yeah, he's like slapping you.
Yeah, he like gives you like when you like slap boxing with your friends, you just give them that quick like slow like quick jab to the chin, you know. I scored it 29-28 for Robertson, but I mean, whatever. You could have scored that fight 30-27 for Canero. They get with Roland Canero. For some reason, the UFC likes this guy. They hype this guy. What is he? Who's he ever beaten? What has he ever done? I don't get the hype on this guy. He's at the end of his career, which wasn't that good to start.
Well, he beat Mark Munoz. You know, he beat Mark Munoz.
Yeah, he beat Mark Munoz. Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah,
it's your accomplishment. I mean, the guy doesn't do anything. He's not a good striker. He's not a good wrestler. I mean, he's got decent jiu-jitsu, but it's not like it's not like Antonio Carlos' jiu-jitsu, so his much better. He's that serviceable Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy where he's, not Damian Maia level, and he's occasionally will get somebody in a submission, but for the most part, there's nothing there. And Robertson is the ugliest fighter I've ever seen. and I'm not talking about his appearance. I mean, his style of fighting. It's how the hell in 2016 is a guy like Kenny Robertson in the UFC? And he's got wins in the UFC, so it's not like he doesn't deserve to be here. I'm just saying, how is the sport had not evolved where Kenny Robertson is not only fighting UFC, but he's actually won it. I thought he won this fight doing his little backhand slaps. But that fight was awful.
All right, then we move into what was the fight of the night. Evan Dunham winning by decision over Rick Glenn, unanimous decision. All three judges gave him all 3 rounds. The number that jumps out at me, he threw 330 strikes. He landed 185. But his volume in this fight was impressive. What do you guys think?
Well, it definitely woke us up after the last fight, that's for sure. This was a hell of a fight to watch. Glenn is a former World Series of Fighting featherweight champion from a couple of years ago, so he's got some credentials. He's not just a guy off the street, even though he's a labor. And the thing about this, his hand, he was collecting them. Dunham was tagging him left and right. Everyone thought that this fight would go 1 round. Dunham would just catch him with a punch, knock him loose, get him to the ground, and just keep ground and pound and get the victory. That did not happen. Glenn could take a punch. He had his hands down in his pockets for a couple of times, and bringing Dunham on to fight him. And during the exchanges, they were both tagging each other. This was deserved the fight of the night. It definitely made us happy that this was on the main card. And Dunham's been around a while. He was always that guy that you always thought would ascend. He would beat a couple good people, like he beat I can't think of it now, but he was always on the rise a couple of years ago where he was a great prospect. Everyone thought he would maybe one day fight for the title. And then I think he lost to Gallard, and then he lost to somebody else. And then he picked up a few wins, lost a couple. But now he's on his way back. So I like to see where UFC takes him. And I'm happy that they'll definitely have to give Glenn another shot. And I don't know who they'll pair Glenn up with, but I had a really fun time watching Rick Glenn and Evan Dunham just go in there and just start throwing fists.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Rick Glenn. What a performance. I mean, now, I think I'm trying to think what I scored the fight. I had all 3 rounds with Dunham. I mean, that was no brainer. I think I went 2 10-8 rounds. So I had it 30-25 for Dunham. So, I mean, it was as much of a whitewashing as there is. But this is a guy who took a fight on like 3 or 4 days' notice, whatever it was, went up in weight class, making his UFC debut against Evan Dunham, a guy who is, headline UFC cards, a guy that's, top 15, top 20 in the world right now. And like Dave said, he had his hands down, taking shots. He didn't have his hands in the pockets, as Dave said, because they don't have pockets in those shorts.
Thanks, Keith. Thank you.
I found that line pretty funny. I like that. I like that. Hands in his pockets. I mean, give this guy what I would do after the beating this guy got. He's probably gonna have brain damage, and stick him in a fight against a 145-pounder that he could beat. And, you know, I don't know. I don't remember where the guy's from. Stick him somewhere. If you go anywhere near his hometown, give him a fight that you can showcase him. Now, let me get to Evan Dunham. This. I mean, Rick Klein is. I mean, how tough that guy is crazy. But Evan Dunham is so frustrating sometimes. Evan Dunham is a complete opposite of Kenny Robinson. Kenny Robinson is a guy that has no talent, but somehow gets something out of it. Well, Evan Dunham is a complete opposite. Evan Dunham is so talented, but he couldn't stop a guy who moved up in weight on 3 or 4 days' notice when he clearly got 2 10-8 rounds. He should have took him out. Evan Dunham is always this guy that he has all the tools. He's got a long, beautiful jab. He uses his kicks well. He's got really surprisingly deceiving power. He's got a great chin. He can take a beating himself. He's got very underrated wrestling, you know, that he got with his time with that Extreme Couture. He's got very slick jiu-jitsu, very slick submissions, anaconda chokes, guillotine chokes. He works at a high pace. He's a high out to I mean, he's one of the most funnest. He's one of the most fun guys to watch. I just wonder if it's a mental thing when he goes against top 10, top 5 guys that he can't get over the hump. Because when I see a guy, I see a title contender. When I see his skills, I just see it's one of these guys I can't wrap my head around how this guy. I mean, this is a guy he'd beaten Sean Shirk, and he lost a decision to Shirk, right?
Yeah,
but it was a screw.
He beat Lozon, Pearson. You know, he's beat some of the big name guys, and he couldn't beat a guy, you know, a week's notice coming in, moving up in weight. You know, doesn't look so good.
No, I'll tell you right now, Evan Dunham, you hear him in interviews, he's a real humble guy, kind of all shucks kind of guy, the guy you kind of root for. So I'm hoping he gets his going up. I kind of feel like he's probably lost his moment to be a champion. He's probably past him now. I know he's dealt with a lot of injuries, so that might be a reason why he can't get over the hump. But it's too bad because, you know, 20, 30 years from now, most people aren't going to remember Evan Dunham. And it's too bad because he had the talent to be something special.
All right, moving on. We'll go into Derek Brunson winning by knockout over Uriah Hall. Guys, I thought this was an early stoppage, and I want your thoughts on that. Did Dean step in too quick?
Well, before we get to that, I think the UFC needs to realize that there's no money in Uriah Hall. Ever since he was on The Ultimate Fighter and he had that spinning back kick, they treated him like he was the next god, basically. They thought, oh, this guy will be unstoppable. Chael Sonnen was even saying, you're going to be a champion one day. And it just boosted his ego where he was thinking, oh, man, I'm unstoppable. Boom. Can't even beat Kelvin Gastelum for the finale. You know, he got lucky against Musasi. And the UFC just needs to stop hyping this guy. He's kind of just one-dimensional, I feel. I know the stoppage was he did get rocked and he flew back. He was taken – oh, sorry, let me go back. Brunson really didn't even land one of the ground shots. If you watched it in slow-mo, not one of those ground shots even landed. But it was hard to tell because everything's going so fast. So the referee only has, you know, a split-second decision to make. It was close, but I thought it was a good stoppage because he probably just would have been taking more shots and shots. And I know everyone's up in arms because everyone loves Uriah Hall. He's the Ultimate Fighter, Cinderella guy, but I think he's on his way out. I mean, the last fight he fought Whitaker, he looked gassed. He wasn't really doing anything, and now first round, you know, TKO. Not looking good for prime time, as he's called.
Yeah, I think Dave forgot that Derek Brunson fought too.
Oh yeah, sorry, Derek Brunson fought too.
I thought it was an early stoppage. It would have changed the outcome. I don't think so. But I mean, we've seen guys come back from bigger. I mean, a week ago, you could have stopped Overeem Miocic when he got dropped from a shot.
Yep.
Gladly, I don't remember who was refereeing that fight. Maybe John McCarthy, maybe Herb Dean. I don't remember who was refereeing that fight, but luckily they didn't stop this fight. And I don't remember who was refereeing this fight. Probably that guy who did the opener fight. That guy owes me. That guy owes me like $25. So yeah, I think it was an early stop. It kind of reminds. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Ultimate Fighter show. The last episode of the Ultimate Fighter show was actually very similar. A guy was Damasio Page was dropped by a shot, was starting to cover up, and the referee jumped in, and he immediately jumped up and was recovered. I kind of felt this had the same thing, very, very similar. But I'll focus on Uriah Hall for a second. I wasn't really going to do it, but I agree. I agree with Dave. I gave up on Uriah Hall when he fought in Boston. I was there live. He fought John Howard, who took the fight on short notice. John Howard moved up in weight, and he lost a snooze fest to John Howard. Plain and simple, I like John Howard. I've actually hung out with John Howard. Me and Dave are real close friends with John Howard.
Oh, yeah.
If you lose to John Howard, you're never going to win a title. And I root for John Howard, but you lose to John Howard, you're never going to win a title. There's no other way around it. Hall's exciting. I get it. He's flashy. Melvin Gillard is flashy. Melvin Gillard will never win a title. That's what Uriah Hall is the same thing. He's got that quick twitch reflexes. He can throw up a high kick, knock you out. But he has a lot of flaws in his game. And Derek Bronson's a legit guy. He's won 5 fights in a row in the UFC, which is an accomplishment there. Now, this is probably his biggest win so far in the UFC. Brunson, he kind of if his striking is there and he has found this overhand right and this power, he's got good wrestling. I mean, it's not Makhachev's wrestling, but it's good enough. It's serviceable, and he's aggressive. He uses that bully mentality where he's always coming forward and striking. And you know who does that? And he's been pretty damn successful with it. Is Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping used that. I'm going to overpower you with a number of volume strikes. Brunson does it a little different, where he overpowers you with strikes to set up a takedown, and he's got really good ground and pound. But we've seen guys who, when you watch the film, you don't see everything. You don't see a killer, but you see guys who've been very successful just changing up and fighting unexpectedly, and that's what Brunson does. This is a great fight. I'd like to know what you guys who would you guys like to see him match up? Because, I mean, he's already ranked in the top 10. I think he came in 10th in our Sports Talks rankings before this fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up a couple more spots.
Well, I didn't like at the end when he was almost like he was demanding, like, give me that title. I'm in line for a title shot. Okay.
Yeah.
You beat Sam Alvey. What happened?
Yeah, slow your roll a little bit there, Derek Brunson.
I know. You beat my favorite fighter, Short Fuse, which I'm still, up in arms about. But, I mean, the one person I think that I hope they match up Brunson with as a real test, just give him Anderson Silva. Silva's on this is the retirement toy of Anderson Silva. If Derek Brunson really thinks he's a player in that division, why not give him the guy that ruled the division, Anderson Silva? I think that could be an interesting fight to watch. And if Brunson's the big dog attitude, I should be able to beat Silva, then prove it. I think that's the only fight I think makes sense, Brunson versus Anderson Silva.
Yeah, that fight actually makes a lot of sense. The one thing about Anderson Silva, I think he probably has 1, maybe 2 fights left. He probably doesn't win them. I could see some things they could do with Anderson Silva. One thing I think they could do, the Uriah Hall fight that was supposed to happen that didn't happen.
Yep.
The day before, they could do that. I understand it. Anderson Silva is the flashiest fighter in the history of MMA. Match him up with Uriah Hall, who's flashy. But on the same sense, if Uriah Hall wins, knocks him out, I guess you start the Uriah Hall hype train just to get off the rails again. So I can see why you wouldn't do that. I would still like to see Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre. I know it's not what it would have been long time ago, but it's still a fight that it's Chuck Liddell versus Vanderlei Silva. we got that fight. We got it way after we wanted it. But it was still nice to see, just for nostalgia. Just give the hardcore fans, the guys who've been wanting it forever, put George St. Pierre versus Anderson Silva. I know Anderson Silva is very big, even for a middleweight, and George St. Pierre, last time I saw him, he looked like a lightweight. So I know there's that issue, but if there's ever gonna be a time where George St. Pierre would take that fight, it'd have to be now, because this is the best chance of beating him. The two guys I thought of that I would like to see him, Brunson, take a shot, or that makes sense, is Lyoto Machida is a guy. I don't think he has a fight. I know he's got some injuries that he's been dealing with. I don't know what his status is right now. If he's available with injuries and that. But I think Lyoto Machida would make a lot of sense. He's probably ranked 7th or 8th in our rankings right now. And a guy he scheduled the fight is Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort scheduled the fight Gegard Mousasi. I was going to say the winner of that fight, but you've already beat the guy who beat Mousasi. So if Mousasi wins, it doesn't appeal much. But if Vitor Belfort wins, former lightweight champion, a legend in the sport, been around forever, I'm still a big name to casual fans. So if Brunson beat him, I think that would propel his name. So if Vitor Belfort beats Gegard Mousasi, I think that'd be a good fight too. One of those two. So either Lyoto Machida or Vitor. But going back to him calling out for a title fight, I mean, is this guy delusional? I mean, the middleweight division is probably the most clogged up division right now because, first of all, you got Dan Henderson getting the title fight, which most of us agree doesn't really deserve the title fight. But, we get why they're doing it, nostalgia and the revenge and all this. Then you got the former champion Luke Rockhold and Jacare Souza facing each other. Clearly the winner of that fight deserves a title fight over Brunson. And then you got Chris Weidman, the former champ, and he's fighting Yoel Romero. The winner of that fight clearly gets it. So to me, he's probably 4th in line. and that's without thinking about other guys. That's just off the top of my head. There's probably someone else in there that probably deserves a shot before him too.
All right. After that, I'm going to hop into the main event of the card. Dustin Poirier losing to Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson with the first round knockout. Poirier looked good in this weight class up until Saturday. What did it go wrong for him?
You want me to start, Keith?
Yeah, good.
These two guys were on 2 different paths. Johnson just lost 2, and everyone thought he was on his way out. Ever since Poirier moved up in weight, everyone thought he was going up. So both guys had different trajectories that they were both coming at an impasse with this fight right here. Either one of them looks like a star, or Michael Johnson loses 3 in a row, and boom, when you lose 3 in a row in the UFC, you're done. A lot of heat between these two guys. At the weigh-ins, they were trash talking. Poirier even put a finger on his face, which Michael Johnson did not like. So the build-up to this fight was pretty good. Everyone wanted to see these two guys bang. They didn't touch gloves. And Johnson made him look silly. But Johnson, I always liked, Michael Johnson. He was always an interesting fighter to watch. And ever since Poirier lost to McGregor, he moved up and he was knocking guys out. So everyone's like, oh, the weight, walking around at your normal weight is, obviously doing wonders for him. I thought if Poirier won this fight, I thought maybe he was 1 or 2 fights away from maybe even fighting for the title. And if Johnson, everyone thought was on his way down after Diaz put a clinic on him, everyone thought, oh, maybe he doesn't have the heart anymore, Michael Johnson. Maybe he's doesn't know really what he's doing anymore. But he proved everybody wrong with that punch. And the ground and pound to follow. The taunting I didn't like at the end. I thought that was a little uncalled for. You obviously beat the guy single-handedly. You didn't really need that. I know you guys, had a decent trash talk and you guys didn't like each other, but you got to show some respect, But I'm glad that Michael Johnson did win. The Poirier hype train's a little derailed, but I feel like they can still build him up a little bit. But I'm glad that Johnson got the win, and he was a big underdog going into this fight too. Everyone thought Poirier would come out, knock him out first round, but obviously Johnson had a card up his sleeve and knocked him out pretty good.
All right, I'm going to agree with a lot of Dave said, but I'm going to change one thing he said. He said everybody thought Poirier was going to win. Go back a week ago. This guy picked Michael Johnson on this show. One thing, I mean, I'm not going to say that I thought
let's tell him why you picked Michael Johnson.
No. Well, I had a big long write-up why I picked Michael Johnson. And I didn't expect Michael Johnson to win by knockout. But I did take him in DraftKings. So I backed up my talk. I wasn't just playing it up. Mike, what I said last week was I thought this was a pick-up fight, and I was surprised how much of a favorite Dustin Poirier was. I was surprised how everyone was taking him. I said overall skill-wise, I thought Michael Johnson's a better fighter. I think he's, Poirier had the punching power, which we thought he had the punching power of Michael Johnson, which was proven to be false. And he obviously had the momentum, Johnson being out for a year. Johnson reminds me a lot of Evan Dunham. He's got all the tools. The tools are there. And I'm hoping that this fight is a springboard to what I've always seen in him. He's got the long range, which is always, a huge asset. He's got long arm, long legs. He uses his legs good. He's got crazy fast hands. He says he has the fastest hands in the lightweight division. And I tried thinking of somebody in that division who has faster hands. And I mean, I don't know if Dave could or Justin could. I can't think of someone who has faster hands than Michael Johnson. One improvement that I saw was his side movement. He did a lot of your Dominic Cruz style, moving the angles and moving side to side. I think that really interrupted Dustin Poirier. And Poirier was reacting to Johnson instead of being to set the pace, which Poirier normally does. It seemed like he was very uncomfortable right away. Michael Johnson actually has a really good wrestling, which you never see. He always uses it. And he's got good cardio. He's never really gassed out in a fight. One thing he said is that it's been a mental issue with him, and he's been seeing a sports psychologist. Now, I've heard a lot of fighters say this. I know George St. Pierre has used a sports psychologist. That's probably the biggest name, but I know a lot of guys who use sports psychologists. I don't really know how much that works, but maybe it does. I know I know Conor McGregor was seeing a sports psychologist after Nate Diaz. So maybe that the only thing he was missing was the mental aspect of the game. So the tools are there. I mean, if you take the talent of Eddie Alvarez and compare it to Michael Johnson, I think Michael Johnson's a much more talented fighter than Eddie Alvarez. If Eddie Alvarez and Michael Johnson fought tomorrow, I might take Michael Johnson to win that fight. So I'm probably bigger on Michael Johnson than most people are. I see the talent. I mean, when you look at his record, it's a very deceiving record. I mean, he's only lost, he lost a lot of fights early in his career, so his record doesn't look as good. Plus, he's lost a lot of really close fights. But when you start looking at some of the guys he's beaten, I mean, he said it himself. He's already beaten Edson Barboza, which is a great fight. He's already beaten Tony Ferguson. I know that was a long, long time ago. But, there's two guys right there that he's already beat. You add Poirier to the list. Beneil Dariush, I mean, they keep saying he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He didn't lose to Beneil Dariush. He beat Beneil Dariush. And I like Beneil Dariush. I think Dariush is legit. So, so he's got a couple losses on record. Now, one thing he said during the post-fight that this is where I completely disagree with Dave. Dave said he didn't like the antics of, the fuck you, I knocked you out and all this shit and the bad blood. I'll tell you why. I actually enjoyed it. Not there's so much of wiping into some guy's face. I mean, I don't like that part. But at the end of the fight, Michael Johnson, who just, got a big win, probably the biggest win of his career, he starts calling he wants Conor McGregor money. Well, if you want Conor McGregor money, don't apologize when you punk a guy off after you win. There's two ways to get big money. You have hold on, let me correct that. There's one way to get big money, and that's be a big draw. But there's two ways to be a big draw. You got to have either everyone like you or everyone hates you. So embrace the hate. Be the asshole. Conor McGregor has all his people that he loves, but he has all the people he hates. And you can say that about all the biggest draws. I mean, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar, John Jones. Tito Ortiz when he was a huge. Michael Bisping. I mean, he's not on that level of star, but he gets a lot of views because people want to either see him win, people in England want to see him win, and there's a lot of people, especially Americans, who want to see Michael Bisping lose. So if Michael Johnson ever wants to move up to that Conor McGregor level, then embrace the hate. Take Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen is the perfect example. Chael Sonnen was a talented fighter who didn't get any recognition for years. Chael Sonnen was in the sport for a very, very long time. And then he got the title fight with Anderson Silva, and he got it one way because he talked himself into the fight. And now he's one of the biggest stars. I mean, you saw this week, Bellator just signed him to a 6-fight deal. You see him all over ESPN, he goes to ESPN and different things. Well, he did that because he talked. And he calls himself the bad guy. He embraced the hate. And that's something Michael Johnson, if you want to be a star, you got to do. So sorry I went a little long on that, but I was just talking about the market side of the sport.
That's right. What do you guys see next for Johnson? Dave, what do you see next for Johnson?
I think there's 2 fights, and they're both rematches. You could put him against Diaz again, or you could put him against Dariush, a fight that everyone thought that he won. You know, Dariush is coming off a first-round – each of them are coming off a first-round KO. Dariush beat James Vick, and obviously, you know, Michael Johnson, what we just saw. Why not just have those 2 guys go again and see if Johnson can, you know, prove everyone right that he actually did win that fight? And then him against Diaz again, you could hype up the angle where they're both – you know, obviously it may be kind of tough, but you can hype up the angle where it's, you know, 2 bad guys. You know, if they build up, like Keith was saying, if they build them up as a bad guy, Michael Johnson, they could have that be a good fight, and I think the fans would like to see that one again. But those are, I think those are my 2. Other than that, I'm not really sure because everyone else kind of in the division has like tentative fights and everything like that. But those are the 2 that I would like to see the most personally.
Yeah. I know Dariush is scheduled to fight. I can't remember who he's fighting, but he is scheduled to fight someone soon. But, I mean, I think he's fighting – I want to say he might be fighting on that
he's fighting November 5th, Rashid Maganinov.
Oh, yeah. That's a good fight. Wow, that's a tough fight to pick. That's a real tough fight to pick. So I don't know if the timetable would fall perfectly. It might. The Diaz fight makes a lot of sense to me in the ranking sense, where they're both, you know, between the 5 to 10 range in the rankings. So on a sports set, I can see that, but on a marketing sense, I can't see Nate taking that fight. Nate won it pretty easily the first time, and Nate won it then pretty easily. And Nate is such a bigger star now between his wars and McGregor. I can't see Nate taking that fight. I expect Nate to want someone much bigger name, much bigger draw. Because to me, if Michael Johnson fights Nate Diaz, it either becomes a co-main event on a card or a main event on a fight night. And I think Nate Diaz is probably at the point in his career now that the money he's made with Mike McGregor, he's only going to want main events of pay-per-views. I can't see him taking a lesser fight. So I came up with 3 guys. The first one I came up with was Michael Chiesa. Chiesa's on a win streak. He just beat Dariush too. They're they're both ranked just outside the top 10. Michael Johnson will probably get in that top 10 now. I think that makes sense where both the winner of that fight would propel themselves. So that was my my third one. The second one I came up with, and this is a lot of people have been saying, is Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, it makes sense because I expect, and I'm going to get to this later, I think Conor McGregor is going to fight Eddie Alvarez at the main event of UFC 205. Eddie Alvarez hasn't been named opponent yet. No one's heard anything from Conor McGregor. I think it's a negotiation going on. UFC 205 doesn't really seem they've been acting like 205 is going to be this huge thing like UFC 200, and I just don't see Tyron Woodley and Stephen Thompson as the main eventing such a big card. So that really leaves Nurmagomedov without an opponent, and pretty much all the other guys in the weight class are tied up. Ferguson with Dos Anjos, Cerrone, is fighting at welterweight. So it doesn't really give anybody for Khabib. So I think Michael Johnson is the guy. But the guy that I think makes most sense, and this matters because he's fighting, I think he might be fighting this weekend, is Will Brooks. He's fighting Alex Oliveira. I expect him to win. The reason why I think this makes sense, they're both ranked around the same way, but from the bigger sense is I really think they can work that Black Zillions versus American Top Team angle, especially after Michael Johnson just punked off his teammate. Will Brooks fights for American Top Team. He's a top 10 guy, and Will Brooks will talk shit. People think Dustin Poirier will talk shit. Will Brooks will talk shit. Will Brooks gets into it on Twitter. He already got into it with Kevin Lee on Twitter. He was really good. He held his own. I could see them doing like the I'm going to avenge my teammate. I'm going to avenge my team angle. It kind of reminds me of I think they have something there with the American Top Team versus Black Zillions. The fact that they're in each other's backyard. I think there's an angle that they tried it with the reality show and that doesn't really work. But I think they can get this angle going. And it reminds me of when Tito Ortiz was facing the entire Lions Den, and I'm going way back now. But he got in the feud with Frank Shamrock and Ken Shamrock and Guy Mezger and Jerry Bolin. I mean, Tito was fighting the entire team. And you could be doing like a Sting versus NWO or I don't know, was it Sting? One of those guys. Somebody. I'm trying to help. You guys are the big WWF guys, but I think it's an angle that they could work. Somebody fought the NWO. Was it NWO? Was it Generation X? Somebody. Stone Cold versus DX. Is that right?
If you say so.
Just keep throwing stuff out there, Keith.
CM Punk screwed me all up.
All right. We're going to move that. That's it for the card. We're going to move into something we wanted to do for a while. 3 bold predictions that happen now, between now until the end of the year. I'm going to do 3 bold predictions from each of us.
Do you guys want to do one each and then keep taking turns, or?
I like that. That way we can steal. If somebody's got 2 of another guy's 3, we don't. We don't have to have that happen. Yeah, we can do that.
Then you guys can cut me off if I talk too long.
Good. You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
My bold prediction is that BJ Penn will retire again. I think Lamas will
with a win?
No, with a loss.
Now, that would be bold. No, that would be bold.
If you retire with a win? No, he hasn't won in years. I think Lamas will beat him, and I think he'll realize that I don't have the heart anymore. I can't be in the octagon with these young guys. I've obviously lost a step. I'm up in age. So I feel like BJ Penn will retire again. That's my bold prediction for the end of 2016.
All right.
Keith?
I'm going to give you an honorable mention one. I think Rafael Dos Anjos knocks out Tony Ferguson in the first round. But I didn't think that was bold enough. So I'm going to go with Conor McGregor will main event against Eddie Alvarez. And I've said it a bunch of times. He can main event Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205. And what bold is, what I'm going to say, I think Conor McGregor's going to win. And he's going to win. And then all these people who know nothing about MMA, who watches 3 MMA fights a year, will jump all over sports talk. Guys like Matt Bove, and they're gonna say, "I told you, Keith, he's the greatest fighter ever." And then Conor McGregor's gonna get in a big contract dispute with the UFC after he has 2 titles under his belt. It's gonna be a big, ugly contract dispute. So that's what I'm predicting.
All right, and I'll go ahead and I'll do my first one. I think UFC 206 in Toronto. The main card is going to kick off with Mickey Gall versus Sage Northcutt. I think it's going to happen.
All right.
Okay.
Who wins?
The fans.
Sage Northcutt wins, but Mickey Gall for beating CM Punk. He's now a name, and that's for Sage. They want him to beat some names.
They'd be like Dana White putting his 2 children against each other.
So my second bold prediction, I'm going outside the UFC.
Nice.
Bellator is going to make Tito Ortiz versus Chael Sonnen, and I'm saying that Tito is going to win that fight.
Whoa.
I think the Huntington Beach Bad Boys got one more fight in them. That's the big money fight that Bellator needs to make. I mean, they may even put that on a pay. That may be the first pay-per-view. Is that fight? So I feel like that's – I don't know if it's bold. I feel like that's the way they're trying to go. But the bold prediction is that Tito will actually beat Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, I'm going to take a side note real quick and just talk about Chael Sonnen going to the Bellator. That's the perfect spot for him. No, he's past his prime. He is what he is. But what a spot for him in that light heavyweight division. as soon as I heard that, I said right away they're going to do Tito versus Chael Sonnen. But there's so many guys to match him up with that talk trash. You think about the other two guys and two other big names in that division that talk trash is Quinton Jackson and King Mo. And you match him up against any of them, and Chael Sonnen starts talking. Chael Sonnen versus Tito Ortiz, just the talk alone will get me into the fight. And Chael Sonnen versus King Mo, the talk between those two guys would be great. So it's weird. Bellator made a signing that I'm excited, and I'm not excited to see them fight. I'm just excited to see them talk. So my second bold prediction is outside the UFC too. It's in Bellator. Bellator is going to get a big star this year. They have been doing cross promotion with Ryzen. They have sent Quinton Jackson over to Ryzen. They've sent King Mo over to Ryzen. So I expect him to finally get a big star back. And who's the big star that Ryzen can send back? Fedor. So I think Fedor is coming to Bellator. I don't think he fights this year at Bellator, but I think it'll be announced. And I think it's the biggest FU to the UFC. So instead of seeing Fedor fight in the UFC, we'll get to see Fedor fight Czech Congo and guys like that. And I think Czech Congo beats him. But I don't think that's the fight they do. I think they do. I think they do Fedor versus Tito.
All right, I'll go into my second one. Maybe it's not that bold. It's probably not that bold, especially at this point in the year. If I said it earlier in the year, maybe. But Ronda Rousey's not fighting this year. She's not fighting this year, and I'm going to say she's not fighting until August next year at the earliest. I don't think she's fighting for a while.
Wow.
That's my bold prediction. She does not fight until August next year.
I was thinking that I'm thinking she's going to be back for the Super Bowl card. They always do a pretty big card the night before the Super Bowl. I think that's when she comes back, and I think she gets the title fight right away.
My third bold prediction, also outside the UFC, I think that Benson Henderson will be the first fighter to win 3 titles in the same weight class when he goes up against Chandler. So I think he's going to beat Chandler. And I did some research.
3 major belts.
3 major belts in 3 major organizations.
Yeah.
And at the same weight class, because I looked up Frank Shamrock did it, but he jumped between middleweight and I think lightweight. But Benson Henderson, I think, would be the first person, 3 big organizations to win the same title, the lightweight championship, and I think that's going to happen against Michael Chandler.
Wow. So that was actually a prediction I was going to do. I was going to predict Michael Chandler and Benson Henderson, but I didn't think it was big enough. But I was actually – now I'm going to be biased because Michael Chandler is one of my favorite fighters ever. And I was going to pick Michael Chandler. And to make it bold, I was going to say Michael Chandler knocks Benson Henderson out.
Oof.
But that's not bold enough. So my number one bold is George St. Pierre returns on that December card in Toronto, or is it Toronto? Wherever they are in Canada, somewhere in Canada. And he does not fight. He fights at welterweight, but he does not fight a welterweight. I think George St. Pierre wins, and he beats Nate Diaz at 170 pounds.
That would be a great fight.
That's bold. That's bold. I want to watch that. That'd be a great fight.
You're doing the big finale, Justin. No pressure.
Yeah, this one sucks, dude. It's the Nate Diaz thing going on with USADA and his vaping pen. I think they're going to find a way to suspend him. I don't know how bold you guys might think that is, but I think Nate Diaz is going to end up suspended for using the CBD oil that he was vaping after the fight. His drug test came back clean too. I think they're going to weasel their way around that admittance.
So what you're telling me is that USADA's working with the NFL. They have to bring in some NFL investigators and and suspend him without any proof of wrongdoing? Is that what you're telling me?
They're going to take his admittance as a confession that he used something. I think, they're going to weasel around. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go down. I just think they're going to weasel their way into it, and we're going to see Nate Diaz on the shelf.
Well, the athletic commission, if they get involved in it at all, they're not too friendly with his brother Nick. So,
and that hurts him. That hurts him in this fight. But I think they're going to find a way for it to go down into the admitted use clause. All right, and outside of our bold predictions, we'll move into the next fight card. Chris Cyborg versus Lena Landsberg. We're going to put our predictions out there. I think we're all on the same page here. But
yeah, we're all taking Lena.
Yeah. The elbow queen.
The elbow queen. I was trying to think of a main event in the UFC that has been this one-sided. I think this might be. I think Cyborg is going to come in with the highest line in the history of the UFC as a favorite. I think it's going to top. I don't know what the number one is. I'm assuming George St. Pierre versus Matt Serra, which we know how that ended. I know Ronda Rousey over Holly Holm was pretty big. But I'm trying to think, Holly Holm, you gave her a chance because of her striking acumen. Matt Serra, you gave him a chance because, and no one expected him to win by knockout, but he is a very decorated jiu-jitsu guy. So you gave him, now, Matt Serra, we didn't give much of a chance. So I tried thinking of, I thought of Gustafsson versus Ilir Latifi. But I don't think, Latifi had the power that you could see it happening. Andre Arlovski versus Justin Eilers coming off a loss after he just got knocked out with Paul Bonatello. And he got a title fight against Andre Arlovski coming off a loss where he knocked out in the first round. But you gave that heavyweight, because it's heavyweight strikers, you gave him a chance. So I don't really have anything. So this is probably the most one-sided. There's no area with Lena Landsberg it's better than Cyborg. I expect Cyborg to take her out. I'm going to say under 45 seconds.
Wow.
I think if you're playing DraftKings, I don't know what the record is for most money costing, but I think Cyborg is probably going to set the record.
Like cost to put in your lineup.
Yeah, like if it costs you $12,000 to get someone in your lineup, that's usually the highest.
She'll be over that for sure.
It might be 13.
I think she'll hit 13.
You might if you pick her, you're probably gonna have to take like 3 people under like 9,000.
Yep.
And I'm probably gonna take her anyways. She is. They're giving you a free 130 points.
So you think this fight's not going to be pretty one bit? You think she'll even land a punch, Lena?
Maybe she might get a significant strike when Cyborg puts her down and she's falling to the ground and her leg whips up and kicks her.
She's throwing elbow.
Really, the only way Lena Landsberg wins is somehow she can get in clinch and she lands those famous elbows of her and she cuts her and wins by cut stoppage. That's it. That's her only shot.
Cut her.
Well, that's gonna be my prop bet is cut stoppage by Lena.
Yeah, so that'll be my way. So Justin's gonna have to edit this if I pick it. If Lena wins by cut stoppage, he's gonna have to edit the video and then put it out there as I like.
Oh yeah, dude. I'd be all over that.
Hey Justin, just so you can crop this out, if this happens, I'm taking Lena Landsberg by knockout. Okay, so now if that happens, you cut that out, and that's the only thing you show.
We'll cover everything.
Dave, who you got?
You got to go. Cyborg. It's. You think this is a bigger, over under between like CM Punk and Mickey Gall? You think it has that kind of capability? Even though I know Landsberg's been in there a couple times, but you're going against it's like you, the single player on a football team, going against everybody, the 12 men. That's what it's like. And you're on the goal line, and you got to get through. That's what this fight is going to be like. And Cyborg, I think she'll last a little bit longer than 45 seconds. I feel like she can go 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes, but then I feel like her face is going to be a bloody mess. It's going to be beat to a pulp, but it's not going to be pretty for Landsberg.
Yeah, anybody who picks Landsberg or thinks she has a shot of winning has never seen Lena Landsberg fight. They're just one of those ones. Oh, look at her record. She's 6-1 or 7-1. Most of her fights are very close. She hasn't fought even close to top level competition. I don't know what Lena Landsberg did to Dana White. Maybe or Joe Silva or Sean Shelby. I don't know why they hate this lady. But yeah, I feel like this is like she's getting thrown out to the Hunger Games. Like it's like Hunger Games, but she's fighting everyone. It's like a team, like all like 10 people against her.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, she could go do this fight, and then they can have her next opponent just step immediately into the octagon and also lose. In my opinion, like they could probably line up like 4 people, and she'd beat all 4 in one night and go home.
Yeah, this is as much of a showcase fight as you can. I mean, they tried selling a Victor. The Victor's not working. Only hardcore people are doing the Victor. So they probably said, all right, we need to use Cyborg. She can't make the weight class. I'm sure people weren't signing up to fight Cyborg in her hometown. And
yep.
I don't know. Lena Landsberg is crazy. Good luck.
But if she wins, is she the next big star?
Oh,
could you see that, like David versus Goliath?
Oh yeah. This would be the if Lena Landsberg beats Cyborg, I mean, you can make a really strong argument that win would go down as the biggest upset in MMA history. I mean, the biggest upset in MMA history, in my opinion, is Matt Serra over George St. Pierre. So, I think this would top it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I'm excited to watch it. That's all I can say.
I'm hoping it happens. I hope I come on here and say, I know nothing about MMA. How would I doubt her? I hope it happens just for a fun sense, but I don't expect it. I'm actually going to a wedding next week, so I'll probably have to watch it probably the next day, early Sunday morning before football starts. I'm going to have to watch this card because my cousin's wedding. I'm hoping that all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up about midnight on Saturday night, and then I have to watch it and stay up to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning catching up on the fights because yeah, which would really suck because then I would know that it happened, you know?
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for the show for the most part. We just have let everybody know that Keith kicked my ass in DraftKings again for a little football side thing we got going on.
Thank you.
Keith's 2-0, but we got 15 more weeks left, so I'll try to I'll do better. Outside of that, Keith, let's give them a little preview of what's coming up in sports talk for MMA.
Yeah, I'll probably usually Wednesday, Thursday, they let you put out the DraftKings League. I'll make a DraftKings League for Lisa Landsberg's funeral. We'll make a DraftKings League for that.
You should call it that.
Yeah.
Name the league that.
We'll do an update for the Pick'em League. I know that's actually tightened up this period's been pretty close so far. We have this new segment that was pretty fun, pretty in-depth, that Ryan Page came up with called Fighter of the Week. I think last week was our first one. We picked Jimmy Rivera. I wrote it up. What's cool is other guys get involved, Ryan Page and Lee Warnecki or whatever, how you say his name. They're going to be writing up. So one of them will probably pick a fighter this week and kind of give it right up why we pick a fighter of the week. We'll have a poll of the week coming up. Any ideas? Anything you want to see a poll of the week?
For polls, I don't have anything. I will touch on your fighter of the week that you broke down was Jimmy Rivera. I just looked at the rankings while we were doing the show, and they moved Uriah Faber down to 6, and they have Jimmy Rivera at 7. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why not flop them? Because Faber just got his ass beat.
Yeah. Hey, hold on, real quick, Dave. You gotta go.
No. I got a poll.
Oh, good.
Best gatekeeper.
Better gatekeeper. I'll pick. Yeah, all right. I actually like that. I actually like that idea. I'll come up with like 3 guys, and I don't know. Maybe we'll do best nickname in MMA.
That's a good one.
Shoot face versus remember the name.
Oh,
that's a tough call. So I'm sorry. What you're talking about the rankings?
Yeah, in the official UFC rankings, they have Uriah Faber at 6, Jimmy Rivera at 7. That just doesn't compute for me.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can say about that is why the hell are you looking at the UFC rankings?
Yeah, that's true.
You should be looking at the official Sports Talk rankings.
That's true.
I know Jimmy Rivera. I think he came in like 7th or 8th. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where he is in our rankings. Probably, I'm assuming just off the top of my head, obviously Cruz 1, Dillashaw 2. I'm assuming Rafael Sancho 3, Cody Garbrandt would be over him 4, Bibiano Fernandez was over him, I think 5. I can see Rivera coming in at 6, somewhere between 6. I'm not sure. I'm going to say I'm forgetting somebody else, so I'll throw him at 7. And I don't think Uriah Faber even made an honorable mention. So he may have Uriah Faber may have made an honorable mention. I'm not really sure, but we definitely had Jimmy Rivera. I know for a fact over Uriah Faber. I don't know why. They might do rankings on a point system thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
But our big beef, my big beef with our rankings is that John Moraga is ranked. I think he comes in at 10th, 9th or 10th in our rankings, and he lost our last fight. I know Jason Powers and Zach both rank John Moraga. I don't, so he makes our top 10 to that. And I talked to both of them, and they both said flyweight is a weak division, and that's why he makes it. And I understand that. I guess they're going by his past accomplishment. The guy he lost to, the Polish guy with the long name. They don't want to, he hasn't done enough to rank the top 10, so I can understand it. I think I ranked Zach McCoskey over him instead. But rankings are tough. Rankings are tough when you do them. And the more people you have them, I think the better, because it balances out. I don't know how the UFC does this. We have 3 guys. Dave, would you be interested in doing some rankings?
Sure, yeah. Just let me know how, and I'll.
Yeah. We'll talk offline.
Yeah,
I would love to have you in it.
Yeah, it would be an honor.
Yeah, why don't you jump on Facebook? We get you in the website. You're missing out on great stuff.
I know. I'll get in there.
Just make your name Chicken Parm. Nobody has to know it's
Chicken
you.
Parm Dave. Chicken Parm
Perfect.
Dave.
That's what I'll be.
So.
All right, well, that's it for this week, folks. I'm going to go ahead and kick it offline, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks a lot.